Okay, hi and welcome to our TalariaX webinar. I'm Angela, your MC for today. It's a pleasure to have you here with us at Adapt to the New Normal with Effective IT Incident Management. So let me touch on a few on the admin matters before we dive into the presentation format. So please note that there will be recording done for this webinar. And if you have any questions, you can ask your questions at any time during the session in the chat window below. And for those who are watching this on our Facebook Live, you can feel free to type your questions on the comment section and our colleague will pass over the questions to us. And we'll address to all your questions during the Q&A session, which will be held after the presentation. So as we all know these days, businesses have to go online in order to adapt to the new normal. So as we import our products, our services, and customer data online, what are the challenges that we'll face and how do we overcome them? We are very honored to have with us today our TalariaX CEO, Mr. JS Wong, to share with us his knowledge on how to prepare for the new normal. Now I shall hand over the mic to Mr. JS Wong. Over to you now, JS. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Can you all hear me? Okay. Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our seminar, our webinar today. So I hope that everybody is well, and you can hear me well as well. So today, the topic I'm going to talk about it will be on in terms of how we can adapt to the new normal, right? With the effective IT incident management. So this session probably will take around about 30 to 40 minutes, and I hope that we can share some of the thoughts that we have over here. And if you have any questions, we definitely welcome your questions and hope that we can have a vibrant discussion on this topic today. I think while COVID has struck us in the last couple of months, I think one thing we have seen today in terms of the developments that has changed the whole world today is basically how IT is getting more critical for all organizations. And IT today is definitely essential for enterprise. I think one of the metrics that we look at today is actually in terms of the global e-commerce sales, right? So this actually the numbers up to 2019. And I believe that if you look at the numbers in 2020, right, not only in Singapore, but globally, it definitely has risen a lot. And so one of the things about IT today is that it has become what we call revenue drivers. So gone are the days where people look at IT as a cost center, or IT is something that, well, what do I need to spend? But today, if you don't spend anything on IT, you won't get your revenue, you won't get your sales. I think this is something that's very critical. And COVID-19 period, this pandemic has proven that having an e-commerce strategy or having investment in IT is proven to be very critical for companies. Looking at IT portion of course, is that in terms of the IT people, IT managers, I think we should look at, to be fair, to look at the IT managers' responsibility landscape. So basically, what are you in charge of? If you're IT managers today, if you're listening in, right, you should realize that your area of responsibility is actually very broad. Okay, so you have to look at into what we call the physical infrastructure, right? If you are also in charge of data center, like your power, your security, your FM200, and of course your networking system, your networking structure, your routers, switches, and others. And security, definitely security is very important, especially today when everybody or majority of us are still working from home, right? One thing is that for your people who are working from home and able to work effectively, you need to let them access to the network in your environment. And to do that securely, to do that safely, you need to go through your firewall, your VPN, and naturally, how do you control access or ensure the access to your network are from the people who are really the right people, right? Or what we call your employees. And the application need to run continuously. Your ERP, your CRM, your financial applications, you cannot tolerate downtime, right? Downtime is very critical, and it actually will inhibit the way the company work and company grow. So these are also, unfortunately, is also under the prerogative of the IT managers. And lastly, of course, the devices, right? BYOD has been with us for many years. Then the devices that your users or your clients are using to access to the network is also very critical for you, for the organization, and for you to manage. To help you to manage, you have the tools that will help you to manage all the different layer of the applications, whether is it network, whether is it security or data center. So one area that we see is very, very important for the companies, that if you think that your management of the IT systems ends here, then it's incomplete. So what we believe is that you need to complete your whole IT management with a good notification and alert system. Why is that so? Because by doing so, you need to be notified, right? Because what you need to know, what do you need to know for you to manage in the cloud? I think a lot of us are moving to the cloud as well. Okay, so on the cloud, I think the beauty of the cars, we all of us know about all the advantages of the cloud. But I think one thing about cloud is that unfortunately you can't touch, you can't see. Okay, so how do you manage? You need a lot of matrix, the information that your cloud provider, whether is it AWS or your local hosting provider, they have to give you the information and the matrix for you to able to know what's happening to your cloud. And not only to your cloud or your instances, and also to what's happening to your resources, your applications, are they actually running? So whether you're managing things on premise or managing things on the cloud, the things are the same, right? Your job is to do the management of things, right? And you have to know what's actually happening. Okay. But to a lot of people, it's like, well, the assumption is that I made all these investments. What can happen? I think one thing we need to recognize is that despite all the investment and systems that you can actually implement, unfortunately, you cannot eliminate downtime. Okay, so it's just like us as a human, right? You can take the best vitamin, you can do the healthiest food, you can eat the healthiest food, you can do all the exercise that you want, right? Unfortunately, you are still prone to possibility of falling ill. Okay, so I think the same for the systems. You can put all the investments and all the best practices. You cannot avoid downtime. But the key thing here is it's not really to eliminate, because it's not possible, right? But you can actually reduce. You can put all the different safety guard to reduce and rectify them quickly. I think that's where we want to share with you on this aspect. But downtime affects everyone, right? Even the biggest company with the best resources, they face downtime. I think this example that I picked up not too long ago, where Amazon, right? Amazon is such a huge company. Probably today they are not number one, but they are probably, I mean, they're the number one in the cloud, but they're not the biggest company in terms of market cap. Apple is, but Amazon is definitely very big, right? So, but they face the same problem. Imagine if Amazon website has a downtime, people cannot transact, they can't buy things. There's a lot of revenue loss, right? So you incur revenue loss. And not only that, there'll be a lot of unhappy customers. They'll be not happy with you. They can jump from Amazon to other e-commerce website like maybe Walmart, right? And on top of that is that your employee, if they can't work effectively, whether in the office or at home, you have productivity loss. And we are not counting in terms of what I call the non-quantifiable elements, right? In terms of people who are unhappy, they voice their unhappiness on Facebook, on Twitter. It become a human, what I call a PR nightmare for the organization. And there are a lot more examples, right? The banking sector, right? In the US, closer to home, we have reported incidents like DBS Bank and other banks, as well as hacking as well, right? In terms of security and everything happens. So when this happens, there is a lot of cost to the organization. And this is something that is as in terms of the IT people, right? We need to recognize that these sort of things happen, and how do we measure them? So in our measurement, I think one thing for the IT person, that we always have this difficulty as an IT responsible person or IT managers, IT directors, that how do we justify to our management, right, to invest or to spend this amount of dollars? Well, one way is to really to justify via what's the cost of downtime to your company. Okay, so how do you measure? So does your company really measure downtime as well to your company? So how much does it cost? I think that's something that we can consider, right? Is it something that no, there's something that is 10,000, 1,000, or millions of dollars. So this is really depends on how big your organization, what sort of transaction you do on a daily basis, and how much does it impact you on a per hour basis, right? So we do have a simple matrix that help companies to do such measurement. Ultimately, we need to recognize that there are impacts, right? So the business impact on downtime is definitely real, right? There's something for companies to recognize. So these are just a list of example from Logic Monitor 2019, and some of them you may recognize. Of course, some of them you may not. But I think one thing to be sure of is that whatever happens, it has impact to your company and to you, right? As IT manager, you got to resolve it. So you're in this hot seat. So what should you do? So we look at it in a few perspectives, right? I think number one is that we have to ask ourselves the key questions. So is the IT systems, or in this case, the internet, important to your company? It's not necessarily everyone is important, right? To some companies, you may even not allowed to connect to the internet, right? So in that case, your impact is a bit different. I wouldn't say it's lesser, but it's a bit different, right? It's still critical for your systems to be running 24/7, but just that it's not exposed to the public internet. Okay, but for some of us, right, we do have this luxury. Internet is critical to us, and whether is it for transaction, for delivery of information, or purely for customer facing. The next question to ask ourselves is that if there's issue, how do you get notified? I think this is very important, right? In the past, we rely everything on our control center, right? We still have the control center. You see, you have your SOC, right? But you cannot 100% rely to the people who are watching the screen for you at your SOCs. Of course, today is that we have AI, we have machine learning to help you in the whole process. Okay, but the reality is that human is basically the weakest link, right? So we have customers to tell us that, well, we still need to get machine-based notification. Why? Because human can miss the likes, human can miss the points. Well, human just have different things to do, right? We need to go to the bathroom. We may not be the most alert at 2 a.m. in the morning. So there are things that you need to automate and need to machine to come in to assist you in the whole process. So the key question to ask yourself is that if there's issue, how do you get notified? And the last question is that after you get the notification, how do you resolve them and resolve them quickly? Right. So these are the key questions as IT manager that you need to ask in the whole planning of your IT infrastructure. So you look at the tools that you have in your organization. So today, there are a lot of tools, right? If you compare IT systems, IT management tools in today, 2020, to even like 10 or 15 years ago, some of the items that you see in this screen were non-existent. Okay, so for example, of course, traditionally we have systems, application monitoring, network, but like data center, DCIM. DCIM is probably like 8 or 10 years old only, right? So they were not existent, right, more than 10 years ago. But today you have tools, right? Because the data center is getting more complex, things are getting more IP driven, more digital driven. So you have the data center incident manager that helps you to manage what's in the data center. So similarly in virtualization, right, if you run a lot of VMware infrastructure, you have your vCenter, right, to help you to do your VMware management. And this is also very critical because if your workload are all on VMware, you have to manage them, right? If not, if something happens, if the resources is too heavy and things are not working and the VM is not running, now how do you know? I think these are very critical questions. And now when you move to hybrid cloud, right? You're moving your instances from your on-premise to your cloud. How do you manage them? How do you know that it's working properly? So when you swing in, swing out, right? All these are very important information. And of course, like as security space, our security today is so complex. Cyber attack is definitely something on top of everybody's mind, right? And of course, you have this tool called SIEM. Again, SIEM is not something that were available like more than 10 years ago. So with this, you can also use this to actually help you to manage. I think in short is that we have a lot of tools, right? So when these tools trigger an alarm, you need to do incident management and incident response. Okay, so this is something that we will talk about in greater details today, with a specific focus in notifications. So in every incident, your teams need to be notified before they can actually respond to the incident. While it's simple said, right? If you don't know, you cannot respond. You need to know. Only when you know, you can respond. I think that is a key message here. Right? A lot of people assume that well, I have the management tools, things will work. Unfortunately, it does not. Right? You need to make sure that you can get the message out to the people. And definitely in today's context, what we ask about how fast can you be notified? That's something that we need to ask ourselves. And then how can you reach your systems quickly? Right. So notification is only half of the whole equation. Sorry. After you're notified, you need to really able to resolve them. Right. That's the other part of it. So let's look at the different tools. So I mentioned your different tools that help you in your organization today. And the team needs to receive the information. So you can either have them sent to you individually, right, in a very fragmented way. So different tools today can send you another email, some can send you SMS, some can send you different messages, but you have so many different systems, right? So is there a way that there are actually a couple of key points over here? Not only that they are giving you very fragmented information, and you want to avoid what I call alert fatigue. Like alert fatigue basically means that you get so much information that you just simply do not know what to do. Okay, so I think that's in fact in today's world, now we are getting a lot of information. So there is a need to ensure that information gets to you are the relevant ones, and those are the important for you to react. So this is where ZenQuick comes about, right? First, ZenQuick will centralize, instead of all go straight to the individual support team, right? ZenQuick will actually receive the information. We centralize the information. We run our policy filters. You can set up the different configuration where based on keywords, based on the source of the messages, based on some of the conditions you can set in ZenQuick, and we can send these messages if the conditions are all met, and then we send to the people or send to your IT support team. At the same time, if the messages comes in and it's repeated messages based on certain timing, we will actually be able to block the messages, right? So you don't get all the same messages on your phone, right? So I think that these are very important. You want to get the right messages to the right people. And we have also incorporated duty roster, the time shift, everything for you to get the right message to the right people at the right time. Okay, so that's how we assist companies to do management of their notifications. So just a quick snapshot over here. Whatever information you have from your IT infrastructure, right, from the physical layer, like I mentioned about power, cooling, environments, all the way to security, to hardware, application, software, even cloud, right? Everything that can pump up messages. The beauty of ZenQuick is that we as long that we can receive an email, syslog, or SMP trap, any of this messaging format, can convert them to messages, right, and then send to your phone. And then you can actually receive it. Your IT team can receive the alerts on their mobile anytime, anywhere. So the key thing is that we bring the unknown, that means the things that you do not know, to the known, right? The people know what's happening, and because they know what's happening, they can actually help you to solve the problem. Like I said, the whole objective here is that we want to ensure that anything happens, whether to your physical environment, whether to your servers or to your cloud, you need to be notified. And notification is very important, which is the known over here. And once you get notified, you were able to solve, or able at least to react and solve the problem. So the question people ask today is that, well, there are so many different types of messaging format, right? So can you send it to us? But the good news today is that we have gone beyond text messages. Yes, we started 19 years ago, we do text messages and we still do a lot today, right? But we recognize that people behavior changes, right? Technological changes as well, right? We don't use feature phone anymore, we use smartphone. A smartphone has so many things that you can do. And with the smartphone, you can install all kind of messengers. And the messengers is also installed based on geographical region. If you go to Thailand today, but the predominant, or what I call the dominant app that everyone use, it's not WhatsApp, right? We use WhatsApp in Singapore, in Malaysia, but when you go a bit north to Thailand, you use Line. But if you go a bit west, right, go a bit east, sorry, towards the Philippines, they use Viber. So different people use different apps. So how do we fulfill that? So what we have done here is that today, the good news is that ZenQuick is able to send messages to all platforms, right? Today you can send to actually 10 different platforms. That's the beauty of it. So you don't have to worry that your chosen platform is not there, right? Most of the Asian countries we are there. But I said, well, but I don't see like Korea Kakao. One of the good news that we are doing Kakao development today. So when it's ready, we'll deploy it for all customers for free. But you said that what if I want it to be more close group, right? I'll use collaboration tools like Slack, like Teams and others. Well, the good news is we have that as well. So I think what we're trying to do here is that we want to go to where what our users want. And then very important, I said we send messages to the cell phones, the mobile phones of your users. And the users should choose how they want to receive, right? So if they're comfortable with Telegram, they're comfortable with Slack, they're comfortable with WeChat, right? Then yeah, that's how we will go send to them, right? So that is the intention and that's the spirit of what we have behind every single ZenQuick product. So just a quick snapshot, right? So what is ZenQuick in that sense? So ZenQuick, the key thing here is that for the IT manager point of view, right? We want to make sure that ZenQuick is something that you can use in your IT environment. Okay, it's compatible to all the different management tools that we have, that you have, right? Whether it's data center, whether it's network management, systems management, incident management, event management, help desk, anything. Anything that you have that you want to use to send messages, ZenQuick can fulfill for you. Now, not only that we have the nature, or what I call the built-in functionality to send messages using email, system as an chat, we makes it very easy to integrate. We have REST API as well. So you said, well, what if tomorrow I have a new systems or a new product category and I want to share with ZenQuick? My answer is, well, go ahead. As long as you can integrate to us, even using REST API, we can do so. Okay, and ZenQuick is definitely unlimited license. And like I shared earlier on, we have a wide messaging option for the customers. So once you have received the notification, so well, what's next, right? So the next thing here is that, well, you know something happens now is to go to the data center or log in remotely, whichever tools that you have to solve the problem. Now, while you're logging in to solve one problem, you're opening to another problem. What is the other problem? The other problem basically is that how do you know when your engineer log in from his home or from the different locations or even from Starbucks or McDonald's, right? It's really the right person. I think that's something we need to ask ourselves. Okay, and today there are a lot of tools or technology that assist you to make this more secure access, and we call this two-factor authentication. So in a very simple term, two-factor authentication is to allow you to do a second verification. It's just like you go to a building, right? They want to see your ID, they want to check your ID, and why did they ask you for a photo ID, right? The photo ID allows you to check that the person who appears on the ID is who you are, and the face looks the same. Okay, so they need to check, and then so the two-factor is very important when you want to allow your staff or your vendors, even for your vendors to access to do work and to solve the problem, right? So this is another portion that you need to look into, and we have the two-factor authentication system, right, to help companies, whether using SSL VPN, using a remote desktop or any applications that support Radius or REST API, we can perform two-factor authentication to your users, to your directory base, like your Active Directory or user database. And by using just a normal smartphones, you can either receive SMS or download a soft token, right? So you have a choice of SMS or soft token, sorry, for your OTP generation. Okay, so this is something that allows you to do very secure, sufficient security for you to access, and at least there's some peace of mind that whoever is logging into the system today is definitely who they are supposed to be. So you look back the whole process is that you have the management tools. So when management tools detected there's some problem that happens to the IT environment, but you need to get the message out, right? So that's the first thing you need to do. When something happens, get the message out to the right people and give them the right information to the device that they are most convenient with, which is the smartphones. By sending it out to them, let them make a decision. Say, well, okay, fine. This warrants something that I need to log in to do some work. Then fire up the laptop, log on to the internet, go to the VPN, do the two-factor authentication, and then verify it and let them do the work and solve the problem. So this allows you a very quick response and allow you to make sure that your whole incident management process is smooth and reduce your downtime. So in a nutshell, right, the important thing for IT management, or what I call in IT management concept here is that first you need to have what we call the early notification. Okay, so why is important? Because the early notification, you can follow up with immediate response to the issues. With the response, you're actually reducing the downtime. You reduce downtime, you are minimizing business and operation loss. Okay, so this is the summary of things. And what we are looking at today is that, of course, in the landscape that we have today is different from maybe 10 or 15 years ago. So to a lot of companies today, we started off with on-premise. A lot of us still have on-premise. So the good news is that we have solution to do notification for you for on-premise, where you can send to the different messaging platform, where you can just send messages to the phone. We have cloud way of sending as well. But you say, well, what if I move my workload to the cloud, right? We have cloud like AWS, whether is it Azure or Ali Cloud or any of the other cloud provider. So how do I get notifications? So I want to let you know that we have a pure cloud notification platform as well called ZenQuick on Cloud, which we have it available, which allows you to do seamless integration to the top 3 to top 5 cloud providers. So today we have done the integration to either through email or through webhook of AWS, Azure, Alibaba Cloud, Oracle, Google Cloud. So we have done 5 of them, right? So because we roll out more integration to different cloud providers. So when you're on the cloud platform, if you have any requirements not to send notifications directly from the cloud providers, from the matrix, you can just configure, point it to ZenQuick on Cloud, and we can send messages up for you right immediately. And you still enjoy all the benefits of the ZenQuick features, like the policy filters, the duty roster, as well as the omni-channel sending to Telegram, to SMS, to Facebook Messenger, and so on and so forth. But of course, if you say, well, what if I move to the private cloud, right? When you move to private cloud, I'm using the instance of the cloud provider, but it's on a private network. How does it work? Do I have an option? Well, the good news is that yes, you do. Okay, so we have a ZenQuick VM, which allows you to run on your virtual machines. And with this ZenQuick VM, you can actually again send the messages out from whatever event you have able to be detected in your cloud environment and the hybrid environment, and then we'll send it out via the cloud to the different providers that you chose. Okay, so today we have a complete solution for you, right, in whichever environment that you choose to run them. Okay, so I hope that I've shared, I mean, not very long, very much in depth, but I think the key message here is that downtime is important. Downtime is something that you need to respond to and respond to quickly. So how do we do that? So you have all the management tools that you have invested. For management tools, you need to get a good notification system because you need to get the message out quickly and reliably, okay, and to the right person as well. So ZenQuick have the solution to allow you to send the messages out, whether from the on-premise, from the public cloud or the private cloud, to the engineers that you want to reach them and then get the message out to them as quickly as possible. And once they have received the messages, they will be able to respond to you and they will be able to log in remote sites, whether to the on-premise environment, to the cloud or the private cloud, to solve the problem and make sure that when they're logging in, you know who is the person who's logging in and the person is properly authenticated with at least a two-factor authentication to ensure the identity of the person to be the real person that you want them to be. Okay, so that concludes my presentation for today, right? If you have any questions that you like to know more, right? We will actually have this Q&A session that we can actually address some of your questions, right? I'll hand over back to Angela.
Thank you very much, JS, for sharing your expertise with us. So now we shall go into our Q&A session to answer some of the questions that we have received during the session. So keep the questions coming. If you have any questions, you can type it in the chat window and send it out to us and we will address the questions. Same for those friends who are on our Facebook Live. If you have any questions, please type your questions in the comment section and our colleague will pass the question over to us. So the first question that we have, Mr. JS, is would you say that it is necessary for all companies that haven't yet invested in IT notification platforms to do so? Isn't this more applicable for big companies?
I think that's a very good question, right? I think the first thing here is that if you do not have a notification system today, definitely if you look at the whole IT management process, right, you definitely need to ensure, also not say ensure, but for it to be complete, for it to complete is that you need to monitor. Monitor basically tells you what you need to know, right, in the what's happening. But after you have done the monitoring, you need to inform the people who are supposed to be responsible to solve the problem. So in the old days, right, the people who come to work, right, 9 to 5, they stay on the screen and then they will solve the problem, right? When they see the red light blinking, then they try and solve the problem. But today it's different, right? Today, on one hand, we have the pressure in terms of the costs, right? In terms of the budgeting, where you cannot get too many people, and people, of course, not cheap and not easy to hire today. But at the same time, is that they have to do multitasking. They do desktop and user support. They do run around the different offices. So they are basically not in front of your monitor anymore. So that's why the notification need to evolve, right? You cannot just wait for the beacon to sound or the alarm to sound, but you need to go to something a bit more direct to the person. And in this case, the most intelligent device that all of us are carrying 24/7 with us is our mobile phone. So mobile phone is a very natural device for us to get information, and notification is definitely able to leverage on this, and it's free. Free in the sense that your phone is ready for that, right? Whether it's SMS or install or WeChat or WhatsApp or Telegram, you just install them, right? You're ready to receive messages. So I think that the key thing for companies that if you do not have a notification today, my advice that you need to get one. It's not because it's trendy to do, because it's a must to do. And the must to do here is not just because your other people is doing it, because it becomes a situation that if you don't have it, naturally your ability to respond to people, your ability to respond to situations, the problems will be slower. And gone are the days again, your luxury of downtime and put under construction signboards and this all of your solving problem. right? Your customers are not going to be so forgiving. Just imagine today, the war is no longer how good your product is. The war is basically everything, right? Whether how well you respond, how fast you respond, how fast your system work, everything. Everything basically is important. It's a key determinant of how well your business will be doing. So it's very important for you to have a good notification system for your companies.
Thank you very much for the answer. So the next question we have comes from our Facebook Live. Is the omni-channel, the multi-platform messaging, only for the IT alerts portion? Is it like a separate device or a service that I can use? Or can I use it to message customers for customer service or appointments or delivery notifications?
Good question. I think a very good question. While today's our focus is very much in the IT notification, actually in our more than 2,000 customers, we see a myriad of applications. We have customers who are using our systems to send like appointment reminders, to send job confirmation. They even send things like survey, right? Customer service survey. So ultimately is that what ZenQuick provide is the messaging channel for you. So we can use it for anything you want. The key thing here is the integration. Okay, so you have your applications with your CRM, your ERP, your supply chain. So we have REST API, we have email, we have FTP, we have database format like JDBC that allows you to easily, right, using your current resources to integrate to ZenQuick to send and receive messages. So well, the reason why we don't cover other form of use case or application because there's too much to cover, right? So we just want to be a bit more specialized to share with you for today something that's related or very relevant to IT managers is IT notification. But we do see a lot of customers, sometimes they do share. If you recall, one of my slides is that there is unlimited license. So they do share our systems for IT alerts as well as for other what we call business processes or workflow purposes. Yes, you can do so.
Okay, thank you. That sounds great, actually. So the next question that we have is, will on-premise servers still be advantageous, or is it going to be an all-cloud future? So this attendee is asking more about what do you think? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm no guru in cloud. Okay, I mean neither am I guru in on-premise. I think for our point of view, right, in terms of ZenQuick, as well as what we are seeing in terms of the market developments, I think one thing definitely we can say is that cloud is here to stay. Okay, at the same time is that we also do not believe that on-premise will be totally disappear. So that's why I shared with you our view is that we see three types of architecture system or three types of architecture world, right, for the IT environment in the future. You have your on-premise, right, either totally or some part, it doesn't matter. You will have on-premise on one hand. You did the extreme, which you will have the cloud, what I call the public cloud, right, which is the AWS, the Azure. But in the middle, you have your private cloud. I think what you have seen here today, or what you've been, if you're following the cloud development over the last 10 years, right, today I would say that we are probably in what we term as a cloud 3.0, right? So where you look at the likes of Dell owns VMware. Look at the likes of VMware as well. Look at Kubernetes. Look at all the players. Is that they are actually definitely looking at where the hybrid cloud is coming on stream. So in the other days that there will be three segments, right? On-premise, public cloud, and hybrid cloud. So, but which one for you to choose is definitely for your organization. What we see today, that the trend is that it's something that you're very concerned about security, about privacy. Well, if you're too so concerned about it, you cannot put it in a place that potentially a bit more vulnerable, managed by third parties, then you should put it on premise, right? You don't have a choice. Okay, so we see that in like government, we see that in healthcare, we see that in financial institutions, and we also see that in what we call utilities. You may have come across this terminology called OT, operation technology, where they are very concerned about exposing to the public networks. But on the other extreme, we see a lot of workloads on the public cloud, right? So typically, whether your website or the customer facing or transaction facing or something that you need to or difficult to plan for your workload when you need to resources up and down at a very quick way, right? So that's something that we are seeing a lot as well. And naturally, of course, the hybrid cloud comes somewhere in between for companies to organize.
Okay, thank you. So we have another question. Does it support on cloud infrastructure? Does it support SD-WAN?
SD-WAN, okay, SD-WAN, again, I'm not a full expert on SD-WAN. So SD-WAN, my understanding is that it allows you to create something like a private network, right, to access to the cloud. So yes, you can, we have, like I mentioned earlier on, we have a ZenQuick VM that can run on the cloud. So today we have the ZenQuick VM that runs on AWS, right? We also will be releasing ZenQuick VM that runs on Ali Cloud and Azure in the future. So if you want to, you depending on how you integrate your SD-WAN, you can actually run your SD-WAN from your office to the cloud, back to your office or whichever mode. And one of the landing point can be on the public cloud, and you can connect to ZenQuick or any of your applications, right? So to find out more, I think it's better to talk to an SD-WAN vendor. But as long as our instance is on the cloud, right, technically through IP, through some mapping or some controls, if you're able to route it either to public network or to the SD-WAN network.
Okay, Ken. So due to the time, we'll have just two last questions that we have. Okay, the next question is what could be the possible problems of an SMS gateway if you're trying to create a system having large volume of transactions? Is data loss rampant? Are there any issues about SMS gateway or any huge issue about the problems? Do your product have queuing systems?
I think we have to look at it. Of course, your question is a bit, I would say, broad. Okay. What we have seen, of course, SMS have definitely have improved, and there are different ways of sending messages, right? In fact, today in our ZenQuick products, right, we can actually send messages in two ways. We have one way, basically we send through the SIM chip modem. Okay, that is typically more for companies who are very, very concerned about security. So we have a lot of banks, healthcare, government, or utilities are using our ZenQuick with the SIM chip approach. Now, the SIM chip approach is not designed for very high volume, okay, because there's a limitations. But we can still do higher volume by using multiple SIM chips, right? So that's one option. But the other way of doing basically is that to send high volume is go to the cloud. Okay, in both ways, whether through SIM chips or through the cloud, ZenQuick actually able to track every single message. So what do I mean? If you're going to put in 10,000 messages into ZenQuick, right, we will I will say that we were able to record and list up all the 10,000 messages in our log. In our system, we have logs for every single messages, whether be it sent out or unsent or in the queue, everything is there. Yes, we do have a queue to store all the messages to send out by the what I call first in first out. Of course, if you're using the modem, like I mentioned, modem is a bit slower. Okay, so you will see the queue building up a little bit more. But if you use the cloud way can translate into messages per second. We can do higher volume. Definitely in that way, you will not be able to see the queuing in the whole process. So in our experience, we have customers, I mean, we have myriad of customers. We have customers who send like a couple of hundreds a month to we have customers who send more than 1 million a month. Okay, so it really depends on which spectrum you are in. So I think the best way is that if you have requirements, right, what I can assure you is that ZenQuick can handle all kinds of volume. What I advise you is that if you have any requirements or you want to ask more questions, talk to us. Right, our email, Angela can share with you the emails and our website, and we have salespeople that are able to address your questions, able to answer on all your queries.
Okay, so the last question that we have for today is ZenQuick only available in Singapore? Is it available in the US?
Yes, today is actually we have customers in more than 40 countries, 40, okay? And we have partners in more than 20 over countries. Operationally, we are headquartered in Singapore, we have an office in Malaysia, and we also have an office in the US, actually based in Southern California. So while we don't have office everywhere in the world, but we have partners, resellers and distributors that can assist you, right? They are actually trained in ZenQuick products and they are well versed. And if they're not able to answer any questions, we are ready to assist you as well. So wherever you are, right, just feel free to drop us an email. We'll be able to reach out to you, right? Either we have people who look after for countries that we have no partner. We have people who look after certain region. For example, in Europe, right, we have colleagues who look after European markets, and we have partners who are resident like in UK, in Switzerland, and France, right? So definitely in the US, yes, we have actually a person who are based in Southern California that can assist our customers over in the US. Since talking about the US, we have quite a number of customers in the US. We have customers who are in the banking industry. We have the federal government actually who are using our product there. Healthcare. We have United Health, which is basically the biggest healthcare group in the US using our product as well. And we have data centers, schools, really a variety of customers using our products.
Okay, thank you very much, JS. Thank you for the time. And thank you very much to all of us, all of you for joining us today. So if you're interested to know more about us, you can connect with us on our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/ZenQuick, or you can also visit our website, www.TalariaX.com, to download our brochures or white papers. And of course, if you'd like to have more information relating to how you can help your business to remain competitive in the new normal, you can just drop us an email at marketing@TalariaX.com and we will assist you. So you can check the chat window for the emails and the website addresses. So once again, thank you very much to our speaker, Mr. J.S. Wong, and thank you to all our attendees. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.